I remember I had published my book. I was doing my book launch. I was getting flown across the country, staying in hotels because I had radio and television events. And I was like, oh, hey, this is my version of success. And for me, that was being able to define what I wanted my life to look like, because up until that point, I'd actually just been imagining it. It was all in my head, and I'd just been kind of future pacing and envisioning out this reality for me in my own mind. But then clients were flying to their events and paying me really good money to speak to their attendees. And I was being featured on these television and radio shows and booked on podcast episodes. And there was so much happening in my world. All of this happened because I decided that I was going to create my own version of success, and I was going to bring that into my reality. And that made me the happiest I'd ever been in my life. I was actually standing in a hotel room and I thought, I think that if I died today, I'd be happy, because I'm living my version of success. And for somebody who grew up in a world where you're taught that women are only good for having children or pleasing their husbands or staying at home and cooking and cleaning and looking after their man and being keepers at home, and only men should have ambition and success in a career, this was me breaking the mold. And this was me saying, hey, I'm expecting something different of my life, and I am going to manifest the fuck out of that dream. And so I started with first imagining that for myself, but then bringing that into reality by putting in the work to make it happen. And that feels so good to me because it's done on my terms. I haven't decided that I'm just going to fit into the blueprint of what society has cut out for me as a woman. I wasn't going to accept, okay, well, here's your role as a woman, and here's how much income you can make as a woman, and here's the limitations we are going to place on you, and you're allowed to do that. I'm not taking permission anymore. I'm breaking limitations. I get to define, I get to make a decision about what life looks like to me and what type of life makes me happy. So we have to be really clear about whose blueprint we're living by. And then you have to take charge of your own life and decide to define life on your own terms. So you might not feel like that you're doing well enough in business right now because you're comparing your business model to someone else's. And it needs to look like your coach's business model who's earning 7 figures, or you need to do it like this personal brand over here who's just had a 6-figure, 7-figure launch, or you're looking at an influencer online who's going really viral, and you're comparing all these versions of success instead of actually trying to find the successful parts of your own life as they exist already, and then simply trying to say, how do I extrapolate those and how do I have more of those? What does my blueprint of success really look like? And it was really uncanny because Jamie C has been popping up on my algorithm, and one of her carousels really stood out to me, where she was discussing, she had a conversation with a millionaire, the first millionaire she ever met, she said, and that person said to her, you could be a millionaire too. And Jamie talks about how her body resisted that entire concept, and she got curious about why her body reacted in the way that it did. And now Jamie attributes this moment to changing the entire directory of her life, because she says that she realizes she didn't have a money problem. She says, I had the dreams of a heart-led visionary with the identity of a girl who lived her entire life being broke. And Jamie goes on to say she became obsessed with one question, that question being, whose blueprint am I actually living by? And the reason I was smiling when I read this post was because this is exactly what I've been teaching my clients in the academy. The industry that we're in has given us a blueprint for what success looks like. And whether you like it or not, that blueprint will be informing what you believe success looks like in your own business. However, the reality is that you have a choice. You are so much more nuanced and unique as an individual that you need to give yourself permission to craft a business that supports you and your unique background, skills, and experience, your unique state of mind, the state that your body needs to be in to be able to succeed. And I actually had this conversation with my therapist. She asked me a really insightful question, which was something along the lines of, what does the perfect scenario look like for you right now? And that question was able to unlock for me the future pacing that I needed. So when I say future pacing, it's that visualizing of the goal that I'm manifesting. So future pacing is an exercise commonly used in sales psychology and coaching psychology, where you get the individual to vividly imagine a future event. And in doing so, it calls that event into their reality because their brain is now starting to find creative ways in which to bring that vision into their life. So you start with your vision. You start with vividly imagining and feeling that vision, engaging all of your senses. And we talk about this a lot in the Academy because it's an important piece of you being able to call in the life you want. What happened to me is I actually very clearly remember this moment where I was lying in bed one night and I was like, okay, I'm going to visualize and imagine the life that I want. And I saw myself standing on stage and I was wearing a red dress and I was speaking to hundreds and thousands of people. So I clearly could see this happening. And this is before I had done any of my public speaking, but I was very clearly visualizing that moment. I was visualizing how it made me feel. I was visualizing the red color that I was wearing. And this became my reality not too long after. So I kept working towards my dreams and my goals. I published my book. And then I remember I was standing on stage at a business conference and I was thinking, oh my God, I've done it. I've manifested the future that once was in my imagination. So I want you to know this is very possible for you. Even if you feel that it's impossible, it is so possible for you to create anything that you dream of and to have the audacity to ask life for that. What I'm choosing to believe right now in my business is that I get to do it with a regulated nervous system. I get to be able to take time out from my business when I need it. I get to still be paid during those seasons. I get to feel lit up by the content I'm creating. I get to enjoy creating that content like I am right now. I get to enjoy being in my business. I get to say no to jumping on trends because that's just not how I operate or function. I get to build as fast or as slow as I want. And all of this is okay. I have no shame about wanting to do it on my terms, and you can too. This is especially important when you've been told that what you need or you want isn't okay. And that often happens in backgrounds and environments where we were raised and taught that you're not okay, the way you are is not okay, you don't fit the system. You're only okay or acceptable if you follow the rules in this way. Reclaiming yourself means that you take back power in your own hands and you decide not to buy into those oppressive systems again. You don't internally oppress yourself. It can be really easy to do so when this is the way you've been raised, thinking that you have to do it someone else's way or fit someone else's blueprint. But if you actually look at and ask yourself, stop and look in the mirror, what does my blueprint look like? Get honest with yourself about those questions. Ask yourself, look in the mirror and say to yourself, what the fuck do you actually want? What is your dream life? Tell yourself exactly what that looks like. You have permission to build your business in your way, on your terms, without shame and guilt, whilst knowing that there will be moments of being uncomfortable and you having to push through barriers and do things differently than you have done as you change and grow as a person. But that doesn't have to come from a place of shame and guilt for how you're showing up, but come from a desire to grow from a positive growth mindset, rather than us holding a whip to ourselves. Both positive and negative mindsets can bring you forward to your goal. It's like the stick and the carrot. However, when it comes to trauma-informed business development and CEOs who have lived through difficult, tough, scary, terrifying life experiences and are wanting to reclaim their voice, reclaim their self-worth, deepen their self-love, release shame, release guilt, and heal, then we need to start creating our businesses from a very positive self-image and creating a practice of self-talk that feeds that beautiful self-relationship and synchronicity with ourselves and reinforces positive beliefs about yourself. It's up to you to create an underlying ethos and ideology that supports you becoming the best version of you, and deeper than that, truly becoming connected to yourself, stripping back all the masks and loving how you want to show up and how you want to do it. And this act, in and of itself, being the act of reclamation. So you are reclaiming your internal power, and in doing so, are taking back power from the systems of oppression that you have survived. It's time for you to give yourself permission to define your own version of success and what that feels like. For me, it is my own capacity that has been teaching this lately, because I understood what my capacity is and I comprehended it. And then I defined how I want to grow in relation to my own capacity and what I can achieve in my business right now and the speed at what I want to grow, while knowing that I'm in a transitional phase. And often when you're in a phase of growth, it's always a transitional phase. With business growth, where you're moving from one reality into a different kind of reality. Your systems are always going to have a bottleneck. Your business model is always going to need to tweak and change in order to suit that growth and sustain that growth. And as well, there is another piece where your identity is changing and who you are is completely changing, and to love yourself into that process. I have been a victim of feeling frustrated with myself because I wasn't doing it the way I thought success looked like. I wasn't going fast enough. But when I stopped for a moment and realized that that's not even what I teach my clients, so I have to live my own beliefs and show up in the way that is actually truly aligned with my own values. I have to walk the talk and I have to stand up for what I believe about the world around me. It was such a great fucking reminder for that. Reclaim yourself, reclaim your power, live life on your own terms. Don't live in accordance with the systems around you, what your family says you should do, what the media says you should do. Redefine the pathway you want to walk. You get to do it in the way that you want, and it gets to be true that you can still achieve all of your goals and your financial dreams when you choose that pathway. In fact, it gets to be especially true because this pathway is the key. Choosing this pathway is the key to having the life you actually want, rather than creating a life that looks successful on the outside, but is empty on the inside. Here's what you get to sit with this week. Ask yourself, what does my blueprint of success actually look like? When I envision myself in my business on a daily basis, what does that day look like? Describe it. What does it taste like? What does it feel like? How do you spend your time? How much work do you do in service delivery and coaching and consulting or creating? How much blank space do you have? What do you do with that free time? What are you doing right now because you think it looks successful rather than because you actually want to do it? And if you know that you have permission to grow at your own pace and you have the power to do that, you can do whatever the fuck you want. What would you build? What would you change about the direction you're walking in? If there were no barriers, if there were no limiting beliefs, if everything you wanted was handed to you on a platter today, what would that actually look like for you on a daily basis? Not what you might think it might look like because it sounds cool or because this version of success would sound good if you told someone, or it looks good to society. What would it truly look like for you? So your job, write that down, design your dream life, and then all of your decisions should be made in accordance with that vision, because that vision is the most aligned version of your business. It's the most aligned version of the life you truly desire, the life you want to create, not the life you think you should or must create because it suits someone else's version of success.